Leviathan has already sold out. Upperdeck is suing Ravensberger. All this and more in this week's Hobby News, as brought to you by CMO Games. I'm Angela, you're watching Hobby Night. Now let's get to this. Well, it's here, the pre-order window for Leviathan, but it's already gone. The box set has completely sold out, and this should really be as no surprise to anybody in the community. Most of Games Workshop's big box sets tend to sell out, honestly, before they even go up for pre-order, and that's kind of what happened with Leviathan, but there's something that I find really interesting about this particular sellout over some of the other ones that we've seen, especially in the very recent past. Specifically, Curse City is the one I'm thinking of, but even some of the other smaller big boxes that we've seen recently have all had this problem, where scalpers are actually the ones who ended up being able to get their hands on the majority of the boxes, especially the ones that Games Workshop is selling. The evidence of that typically tends to be you'll end up going onto eBay, and you will end up seeing a lot of those same box sets for outrageously high prices, usually double what they're actually MSRP'd for. But if you actually go to eBay, you take a look around on people who are selling the Leviathan box set on there, they're all listed, at least in my experience, what I found, at $250 USD, which is what it MSRPs for. And this makes me think, did Games Workshop actually manage to do something to prevent scalpers from getting their hands on everything that they had in stock for this box? Are the scalpers just being nice and not charging everybody an arm and a leg for this because they understand that this is probably, at least in my experience, one of the largest wargaming releases ever, and everybody just wants their hands on this, and frankly they want to see everybody get their hands on it because it brings a whole bunch of new people into the community? I really doubt that part. I don't think they're going to be that generous, so I think something else is going on, and I would love to know, I would want to know in the comments, if you are somebody who was wanting to get your hand on the Leviathan box set, were you able to? And how did you manage to do that? Did you actually go into Games Workshop's queue and wait for upwards of hours? Because when I went into the queue, I think I saw like an hour wait time. Thankfully, I had pre-ordered my box from my friendly local game store, so I didn't have to sit in that queue, but I did pop into it just to see what is the wait time like, and it was ridiculous. So did you go through that process with Games Workshop, or were you like me? Did you find a privately owned business that was selling it and pre-order through them? Did you get it through your local Games Workshop store and buy it through them rather than having to wait online? How did you end up getting it if you were wanting it? And if you didn't get it and you wanted it, did you just miss out on it? Was it completely sold out by the time you got to it? I'm very curious because I personally have felt like this has been a much more chill pre-order window, despite the fact that it is in fact sold out, and they aren't going to be printing more from my understanding, which, while is a little bit of a shame, this is a limited edition run. It is meant to be this, ooh, fancy thing for the brand new edition coming out, so I don't really mind that they're not gonna be printing more as long as they actually produce all the other product that comes in the box separately later on down the line, and preferably as individual, here are all the Space Marines from this set, and here are all the Tyranids from the set. Have fun, kids. All you have to do is buy the book extra, which in theory, you don't even have to because they've put all of the rules for Warhammer 40k 10th edition online for free. So realistically, you could probably even save yourself some money if you weren't like sold on having to get the rule book with the limited edition cover and all that. I mean, I for one do want that because I have a collector's problem, but if you didn't want to, waiting seems completely viable. Or are you just waiting entirely because you really want to see what 10th edition ends up actually being like? Because when 9th edition came out, no one was actually getting to play it, and maybe you're worried that the similar thing is going to happen again, and 10th edition is going to end up being blown up as this really great thing when no one's actually played it. I don't think that's going to be the case this time, but I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below, so do let me know in the comments. And now a word from today's sponsor, CMO Games. If you happen to live in the US and you're excited about being able to pre-order any of the upcoming Warhammer 40k 10th edition products, well, look no further than CMOgames.com. The folks over at CMO Games have been doing this for 20 years and they really know their stuff, and they specialize in Games Workshop products. So if you're interested in Warhammer 40k, Age of Sigmar, or even my favorite, Blood Bowl, they've got you covered. Not only that, but they also have a variety of Magic the Gathering cards, Pokemon trading cards, as well as board games. So if you're a mega nerd like me, they're a one-stop shop for all of your favorite products. And if you happen to live in the continental US, well, you've got an even better deal coming for you, because if you spend $50 or more on their site, you can get free shipping on your order, which is really not hard to do when you're shopping for Games Workshop products, Pokemon, or Magic the Gathering. You can find a link to cmogames.com in the video description below. Not only does this help support a small business, but it also helps support this channel. Thank you once again to CMO Games for sponsoring today's episode. Now let's go ahead and get back to the video. Speaking of upcoming Warhammer 40k 10th edition releases, let's take a look at this brand new Tyranid model, because the Deathleaper, that's what this lovely fellow is named, he is majestic. He is like a ballerina. In fact, they use a lot of like dance metaphor in this article talking about the Deathleaper, which I, for one, immensely enjoyed, because right now, I just finished up literally today before having recorded this news, Princess Tutu for the first time ever, a delightfully dark shoujo series from I think like the 90s, I believe. I would have to actually look that up. But regardless, ballet has been on my mind, and so this guy being described as elegant and like, what was it that they called him? I think graceful. What's poise? Indeed, he has so much poise, and even he's not using a tactical rock. He has a full-on tactical platform and pipes, and I, for one, appreciate that. Now, this guy is only something you have to buy once, because unlike some of the other characters that we've been seeing, he is an epic hero, which means you can only add one of him to your list. And I kind of like that idea, because he does really feel like a named character type thing, even though he has sort of a generic name like Deathleaper. But Tyranids, that's how they do it, right? I think he's really, really cool. I cannot wait to potentially paint this guy up. Somehow I want to bring in a little bit of the Princess Tutu vibe, just because of the ballerina like theming that they've got going on for him. I don't know how I'd accomplish that, because I haven't picked out my color scheme yet. I think it'd be really interesting, and I just think this model looks really, really cool. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump into the video real quick to remind you to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications so that you never miss any of the hobby content that we make here on the channel. Next up, I want to talk about the court case that is brewing between Ravensberger and Upperdeck. Upperdeck is suing Ravensberger and Ryan Miller, who is a designer that's working for them on Disney Lorcana, because they are alleging that the designer, Ryan Miller, who previously worked on them for a game called Rush of Ichor, has taken the designs from that game and is using it on Disney Lorcana. And basically that they have the same mechanics, that they are using similar, if not identical, mechanics to the game that Upperdeck is working on. And while this might be true, there is entirely possible that the designs, especially considering it's coming from the exact same designer, might be very similar, if not identical. There is precedent for mechanics not being copyrightable. You can definitely apply some patents to certain mechanics, but that is always geared towards specific wording and not being able to use that exact same wording or phrasing when talking about those mechanics. And what it sounds like Upperdeck is suing them for is just that they have the same mechanics, which lots of games do. That's kind of what creates genres, is they all share mechanics. And that's why you can't copyright them, because otherwise someone would be able to just completely dominate that market, and it would mean that no one else could make games like that. And that just seems weird. It's kind of the same way where you can't copyright a concept. You might be able to trademark a specific image or like a specific like description of a character, for example, but you can't copyright a concept. And that is essentially what Upperdeck is, I think, wanting to sue them for, is essentially for using that mechanic, seeming like they had the copyright to it. Like they're the only ones who can use that, which is just not how it works. And honestly, like, if I'm honest, it kind of makes Upperdeck look a little petty. I don't know what the point of this is, other than to, at this point, just delay Disney's Lorcana from releasing in August at Gen Con like it was originally intended, but there's no way that the phrasing or anything like that is going to be identical between these two games. Their themes are incredibly different. Disney's Lorcana is a Disney game. It's going to be focused on collecting and assembling your team of Disney characters and battling against other people who have also collected and assembled their team of their favorite Disney characters. That's the gist of the game. Whereas the Rush of Ichor, the game that Upperdeck is working on that they have not released yet, is meant to be you're playing as the god who is being worshipped by, I think, ancient Greeks and Mesoamericans. And those are completely different themes. I don't really see how there's going to be specifically an overlap in regards to players being confused about which game is which when referencing the mechanics. I think even if they have that overlap, you're still going to be able to tell the difference because they're two very deliberately different games with different concepts and different themes. So this just seems very strange and like a way to just delay Ravensberger's game from coming out, which why you'd want to go after anybody working with a Disney IP, I'm really not sure, because I wouldn't want the mouse to turn its eye towards me. But you know what? I'm interested to see what happens with this. I hope it doesn't negatively impact either game coming out, because I'd love to see both. I want to see, are they actually that similar? Or is it just they were upset that the designer went off and worked on another game that happened to be in the same genre that they were working on? Let me know your opinions down below. Last but not least, we have a new gameplay trailer for the Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin game from Frontier Development. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Peggy 16.
Commander, there is the stench of death about this place.
I like the voice
Not just
acting.
from the Oryx.
Death comes for everyone. Eventually. Except us.
My god. I mean, they are Stormcast Eternal, that makes sense. Oh, look at the orcs! I like them, they're so good.
Fortify our position. We must claim this swamp.
Definitely getting like World of Warcraft vibes. Which makes sense, it's a real-time strategy, right?
Sigmar, give me strength.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it's time for a fight, boys!
Wah!
Protect the bastion! We need the loot! Like flies to a corpse! They always come!
Aiden, I will take the fight to the Auric Warlord. You hold here.
Fate conspires against us both.
Not fate. Duty.
Get him!
Ooh, I like that. Oh, whoa! Okay, I liked the flying units. That was cool. Dude. All right. Ooh. Okay, so we have an open beta beginning July 7th through the 10th, which is very, very exciting. Honestly, I'm looking forward to this particular game. If you guys are not familiar with Frontier Development, they are the people who worked on Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate, which is the Grey Knights game, and honestly is very, very good. Now, that one is not a real-time strategy. I believe this is Frontier's first delve into this type of game, but honestly, looking at it, it looks pretty good. It's what I would expect from a real-time strategy, and I'm particularly interested in this one because I, for one, I'm not super into the lore for Age of Sigmar. Like, I find some of the characters really cool. Like, I love the orcs. I love the new Stormcast Eternal models. I love a lot of the sculpts from the Age of Sigmar line. However, the lore has never captured me in the same way that the old Warhammer Fantasy stuff did. But seeing these types of games come out, where it's giving a little bit more personality to some of these characters, especially the Stormcast, like, I've never connected with the Stormcast Eternal. I've only recently even started liking some of their sculpts because some of the early stuff I thought was a little bit over the top, trying to be sort of WoW-like in the big shoulders. And I know they have history. I know that Games Workshop and WoW have had some history in the past, so I get that, but there was nothing about them that really made me gravitate towards them. And while this is not 100% sold me on them by this point, I am more intrigued to learn a little bit more about them, to engage with them as a playable character and as an army I get to command and control on the battlefield. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm hoping to learn more from Frontier Development as they announce it. All right, that has been it for this week in hobby news. Thank you once again to CMO Games for sponsoring today's episode, and make sure that if you are in the US and you're wanting to pre-order some of those Games Workshop products, check them out. It might be a great place to get it and save yourselves a little bit of time and not having to deal with the Games Workshop queue. I have been Angela, and before I head out, I do want to give one final thank you to my patrons for making it so content like this can continue to happen. Without your guys' support, we just would not be doing this, so thank you very, very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful hobby night.